Hello guys, my name is Antos, and in this video I want to talk about the latest camera from Blackmagic, which is the Ursa Mini 4.6K. It's the sort of a scaled down version of their full-size Ursa camera. It's a proper cinema camera, and I've had a chance to use this camera over the last 2 months on various projects. Out of those, 2 of them were films. One was a short film, another was a feature film that I shot in India in really extreme conditions. So I've shot a lot of different things on the camera, and I feel like I finally have the experience to be able to properly judge and just to sort of basically talk about this camera. Is it a perfect camera? No. But is it a good camera? I think it is a great camera. Now, like any camera, it's going to have its pluses and minuses, but I think the pluses by far outweigh the minuses. So let's start off maybe with the good things. Above all, the most important thing, about any camera is just what kind of quality it can deliver. And this camera delivers amazing image quality. That is, it records at 4.6K resolution, and it allows you to record it in RAW, meaning you get the ultimate sort of, best quality that you can get. There's no compression issues, things like that. Now, if you want to, you can also record in Apple ProRes at various resolutions and flavors, as well as DNx HD, which is an AVID codec. Now, what do I mean when I say that the camera delivers amazing image quality? Aside from the compression and the image codecs, the most important thing for me as a cinematographer is the color reproduction and also the latitude, so the dynamic range of the camera. And this camera boasts an incredible 15 stops of dynamic range, which puts it on par with cameras like the Arri Alexa. Now, on top of that, I think the color reproduction in the camera is just amazing. Skin tones look great, but just overall, the whole spectrum of colors is properly and faithfully reproduced. Now, you can shoot in various resolutions, all the way from full HD to 4.6K resolution, 2K, 4K, things like that, UHD, and like I said, in various compressions or RAW. Now, the images, you can adjust the softening or sharpening in the camera, things like that. If you're shooting RAW, the beautiful thing is that you can adjust all of those things later on in post. So aside from that, you can also adjust the ISO, you can adjust the white balance, and that gives you a lot of control later on in post. So that's a really incredible thing about the camera, and the fact that, like I said, you can record RAW at just under $5,000, which is what this camera retails. Now, the closest you're going to come where you're able to shoot the same image quality and also in RAW, it's going to cost you twice as much, or almost $10,000, and that's going to be with the Red Raven camera. So once again, under $5,000, and you're getting amazing professional, studio cinema quality, image out of this camera. Now, for any of you who've ever worked with RAW, you know that aside from the amazing image quality, there's also a big headache that you get because of the huge file sizes, and also the need to have a more powerful computer system to be able to actually handle reading, editing those files. I think up until now, it's only really been the RED cameras with the RED R3D files that were, I would say, a manageable RAW format. Well, now I'm really excited that Blackmagic finally delivered a RAW format that is also compressed. So you can compress it at different ratios all the way up to 4:1, and that means that you can actually record, a lot of footage in RAW, but without eating up as much hard drive space as you would have had to if you did it 1:1. Another really cool thing about the camera is that not only is it able to record, like I said, 4.6K resolution, but it also lets you do that at 60 frames per second. So you can get some really beautiful, really high resolution video. You can also record 120 frames per second, but that's going to be at lower resolutions, either in HD or 2K. And also at that point, the sensor actually gets sort of cropped in, so it's a windowed sort of a size. Can be a good or bad thing depending on how you look at it. If you, for example, trying to get really long kind of a sports shots or nature kind of wildlife shots, and then it just simply means you don't need to have as big of a telephoto lens or zoom lens. Now, if you're trying to get 120 frames per second, but at a really wide angle, then it's going to be a lot more difficult because, again, that's the image is being cropped in. The camera allows you to record in standard video mode or Rec 709, but if you want to capture the maximum image quality and the wide dynamic range, then you'll have to record in their film log profile, and that is just a pleasure to work with. It's, I think, the first time a log image profile that, like I said, gives you all of that nice information, but also makes it very easy in post-production to color grade it. Which brings me to another positive thing about this camera, which is the fact that now to color grade this footage, or any other footage really, you can use their DaVinci Resolve Studio software. And that's because when you buy the camera, you also get a free copy of the software. So it's really cool. And like I said, together with that software, you can do some really high-end color grading. If you guys are interested, I've done actually some tutorials before about using DaVinci Resolve, so you can kind of see the advantages of doing color grading in an application like that versus, for example, doing it in Final Cut or Adobe Premiere. Now this camera and the 4K Ursa Mini recently got a cool firmware upgrade. They're actually on their second beta firmware upgrade at the moment right now that I'm doing this video, which just gives a whole lot of really great functionality to this camera. And I think, in my opinion, I think it actually makes it the most user-friendly cinema camera that I've ever worked with. Comparing it to Sony or even Canon, I think the menu systems and just navigating through those cameras, all the options can be just a headache in itself and can take a really long time. Well, Blackmagic has really simplified it, and thanks to their touchscreen LCD display, you can very quickly go in and change the settings and literally just customize the camera however you want it. The great thing too is that now you can save your custom user presets. So once you set up your settings the way you like, you can save it as a preset. You can even share it between different cameras. Also, you can load in custom LUTs, so you can create your own LUTs and preview the image, with the different LUTs applied, which is something that I actually did when I was working on the film in India. The camera comes in with, like I said, with the log and then the film log, sort of a flat image profile. But you can also apply the LUT that is automatically installed with it, which is just a standard Blackmagic Video Rec 709 LUT. In my opinion, that LUT was a little too contrasty. It really did not show you the amount of detail that you captured in the highlights and in the shadows. So I created my own custom LUT, which then it shows you all the details in the highlights and the shadows, but it also shows you enough contrast in the midtones where you can still judge your focus and also just your overall exposure. Plus, you also have nice, rich and saturated image. Now, for those of you who already have the camera and you want to maybe get a copy of the LUT that I created, the custom LUT, which, like I said, is great when you're just working with the camera because you have the proper colors and all that stuff, but also it's great when you're color grading, because now a lot of the times I'll just apply my custom LUT and right away I get a nice, beautiful, contrasted, saturated image that still retains the 15 stops of dynamic range, and then I can just kind of make quick adjustments to kind of create the overall look that I want. So if you guys are interested in getting my custom LUT, make sure to head on over to my website, which is tomantosfilms.com, and subscribe to the newsletter over there. You'll be notified with whether it's that LUT or other things that I'm or giveaways or some anything that's interesting for filmmakers. You'll be automatically notified with regards to that. Plus, I'm also going to provide you guys a link for where you can download this custom LUT. Some of the other cool features that come with the new firmware upgrade are just different shooting modes. For example, you can shoot in anamorphic and also different kind of tools that help you judge the exposure and things like that. One of the favorite ones of mine is false color. So you can have false color whether it's directly on the camera's LCD, or you can send that out to one of the SDI outputs, so you can view it on an external monitor for your, let's say, camera assistant. Also, the new firmware allows you now to use the two custom buttons that are on the side of the camera or on the back of the LCD. So you can assign different functions to those. So again, that just makes it a lot quicker and easier to navigate and operate the camera. Another great thing about the camera is its battery life. To power the camera, you are gonna need to buy a battery plate and also a battery. So the ones I'm using are the Sony V-mount type batteries. You can use Anton Bauer. The great thing is, these are professional batteries, so they're easily available. There's a lot of options out there. And I'm actually going to be doing a video in the future, so talking about the different battery options for this camera, along with different rigs that I've tested out, what I think of them, and a whole bunch of different accessories and things like that. So make sure you guys, again, stay tuned to my website or my YouTube channel. Now, getting back to the battery, like I said, the great thing about this camera is that it uses very little battery power. So if you're using sort of a standard size V-mount battery, like 170 watt hours, that will last you anywhere between 6.5 to like 8 hours. So if you conserve and you turn off the camera on and off in between takes, then you easily, one battery will last you a whole day, which is something that's been unheard of so far with many other cinema cameras, like the RED cameras, for example. Now, the camera has a touchscreen display, which you're going to need to both, monitor your shots, but also to, change the different settings in the camera. And like I said, I've shot a whole film in India, which was in and around Delhi and Mumbai, where there was a lot of sun. It was very hot, very dusty, and all that stuff. So the conditions were really extreme, and I guess the temperatures were going way, like almost averaging 120 degrees Fahrenheit, or like, going up to 45 degrees Celsius some days, plus humidity and all that stuff, and a lot of really, really strong sun. Yet I shot the whole film without any viewfinders or anything like that, just by using the LCD. So definitely you can work with the LCD. And I think one of the reasons why is also, aside from the LCD itself being good, you also have, like I said, some of those other really advanced functions, like for example, false color, which really lets you kind of dial in and nail the perfect exposure. Now, another great thing about this camera is the proper XLR connections and audio, basically, adjustment tools. So now you can plug in, whether it's a line input or a microphone into it. You can also provide phantom power from the camera, and the preamps in it are definitely way, way more improved than the previous Blackmagic cameras. And if you're actually curious yourself to, what kind of image or a sound quality you can get with the camera, then this whole video is actually shot on the Blackmagic Ursa Mini 4.6K, so you can actually judge the audio quality basically by listening to me, because I have this lav microphone connected through a wireless system, and I just plugged it straight into the XLR input on the Ursa Mini. And this is the kind of audio that I'm getting. So I think definitely this camera, aside from it just being a great cinema camera, I think it can also be a great sort of an ENG or documentary, kind of a live event camera. And especially when you consider, like I said, the fact that if you want to, you can get the ultimate, raw image quality. But if you also want to record a lot of footage and you want to be able to fit that, let's say, on one small memory card, then you can, go with the lower sort of flavor of, let's say, Apple ProRes and record in that format. Now, another question that a lot of you have been asking online is with regards to the rolling shutter issues on this camera. If you know anything about the history of the camera, originally Blackmagic thought that they could deliver the 15 stops of dynamic range and the global shutter, which is what they have on their 4K Ursa Mini. Unfortunately, that was not possible, but I gotta tell you guys that the rolling shutter on this camera is barely visible, basically. So the rolling shutter is definitely nothing to worry about, in my opinion, and it's nowhere near as bad as like some DSLR or DSLM type cameras, like the Sony A7S, for example, or even the Panasonic GH4. Now, speaking of bad things, this camera, like any other camera, is not perfect, so it has some negatives about it, but by far, I think the positives that I just mentioned outweigh the negatives. So some of the negatives, though, are the size and the weight of the camera. It is called an Ursa Mini, but it's I would say it's only a mini when you compare it to the full-size Blackmagic Ursa camera. So if you're somebody who's used to working with like small DSLR, DSLM type cameras, you might not be used to basically to run and gunning it basically with this camera. Now, does that mean you can't do it? No, you definitely can. Like I said, the projects that I've shot, mainly the film that I did in India, a lot of the times I had to just strip the camera down to this basic, bare essentials, which was a lens on the front, battery on the back, and that's it. And I kind of had to run and gun to get the shots, because a lot of times, if you've ever had experience of shooting in India, you'll know that in India, if you go outside on the street, you set up a tripod, set up a big camera, all that stuff. By the time you're even done setting up the camera, you're gonna have 100 or 200 people gathered around you, and that's it. You're not gonna be able to get a shot. Whereas, you know, in order to get a lot of these shots that we wanted to get for the film in some of these really busy, sort of crowded areas, I had to, you know, kind of sneak in there with the camera under my shirt, and then just quickly, once we were ready, just whip out the camera, get the shot, and we had to get out of there before the crowd started gathering. And so you definitely can do it with the Ursa Mini. It's just like I said, it's not going to be as easy as when you're working with a small DSLR camera. So just keep that in mind. It's a bigger camera, so because of that, it's a bigger headache. One of the things definitely that is going to also, you know, create more problems with is when you want to, let's say, fly the camera on like a Steadicam or a gimbal, like a 3-axis gimbal. I've actually had the chance to use this camera on various Steadicams and gimbals. I did tests and also used it on different films. So again, I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but I'm going to do more follow-up videos when it comes to, for example, different flying sort of accessories for this camera. So if you're interested in what works and what doesn't, again, make sure you check out my website. Another bad, or maybe a good thing, is the recording format or the recording media that this camera accepts, which is the CFast 2.0 cards. Now, the great thing about those cards is that they're very small and they're super fast. They're almost like miniature SSDs, so solid state drives. The bad thing about it is that right now they're still pretty expensive. I mean, they've dropped in price, but they're still like, to basically get like 0.5 terabyte of space, it's going to cost you around $700-800, depending on which kind of card you get. So definitely can be costly. And like I said, if you want to shoot in 4.6K RAW on this camera, you're definitely going to need, for like an average film shoot, I would say minimum 0.5 terabyte. But I've been sometimes even shooting up to 1 terabyte of space when shooting, like I said, in RAW. So that just simply means that the media is going to cost you a lot of money. Now there is actually another solution for that, which is you can use or you can buy actually this ATAC adapter, which allows you to basically plug in standard SSDs and then kind of convert them and plug them into your camera, kind of fooling the camera, thinking that you have CFast cards in there. So that means that you can get, you know, a lot more cheap and also reliable storage. Now the ATAC solution, I've tried it myself. I found it to be too expensive still and kind of clunky, kind of big. So I actually came up with my own solution, which cost a lot less money. It's actually will cost you around $90 US. So if you guys are interested, again, make sure you follow on my website, because I'm going to be posting that video right after this one, and showing you guys how, basically, what you need to get so you can build your own sort of a SSD to CFast cards adapter. And now another negative thing about this camera is the fact that there are no internal ND filters. It just simply means that you're going to have to either have an adjustable variable ND on the front, or you're going to have to swap out basically different NDs. So it makes it a little bit slower to work with. Now, one thing to keep in mind though is that this camera, if you don't use the proper ND filters, it can introduce a lot of IR pollution, meaning the blacks basically in your shots are going to start kind of taking on kind of a reddish color. I ran into this problem when shooting a short film on this camera, which was the first project I used this camera for, and because of that, I wasn't sure which ND filters are going to work best. And as you can see in this shot particularly, the guy's suit looks more red than black, which was, originally was pretty much pitch black. So definitely the ND filters can produce some problems with this camera, so it's just a matter of knowing which ND filters to use and which to avoid. So I'm actually going to be doing a video, again, a follow-up video after this one, where I'm going to just get a whole bunch of ND filters from the most expensive to the cheapest ones, and kind of see what's the cheapest and best solution when it comes to ND filters for the Ursa Mini camera. Now, another common question I've been getting is with regards to the low light capabilities of this camera. I'll tell you this is not a low light camera. Does it mean that you can't shoot in low light situations? No, you can. Just don't expect to, get a really bright image. It just, if it's dark, the image is going to be dark. So you definitely need some light. But as you'll notice in this example here, the only light source is the candle here, and then also some candles there in the background. and you can get a beautiful looking image. And this is actually pushing the camera at its max ISO, which is ISO 1600. And by the way, this camera has very limited ISO settings, so the lowest is a 200, then you can go up to 400, and then 800, which is the base ISO, and maximum 1600. But as you can see, even in 1600 ISO, you can get some nice low light looking shots. So it really just comes down to knowing how to operate the camera. But if you need to really push it and get a really a strong exposure in a very dim situation, then definitely that's when you want to look at a camera like the Sony a7S II. So that's it as far as the negatives, and I think you guys will agree with me that the positives of this camera far outweigh the negatives, especially when you consider the price that you can get this camera at. If you're considering, for example, getting a camera for yourself, and you're kind of looking at some of the other options out there, there are other options. I think the one that comes closest when it comes to the price range is the Sony FS5. It's a great little camera. I've shot actually a few projects on it. Has amazing features, but at the end of the day, I was kind of deciding myself, and I decided to go with this camera simply because the Sony FS5, just the image quality is nowhere near as good as this one, and the codecs also are very weird and things like that. This camera is just the simplest and cheapest, most affordable right now solution if you want raw, amazing, basically 4K or actually above 4K image quality. There are other options, obviously. One that comes to mind is, for example, the Red Raven. Now, problem with that camera, or should I say, maybe not a problem, is just the fact is that the price is nowhere near this camera. The base, just the brain of that camera, yes, retails for around the same price, but really to get that camera working, the bare minimum, so you can actually have enough media and all that stuff, you're gonna be really spending around $11,000–$12,000. Whereas this camera, like I said, for just under $5,000, you get the camera, and then right away with just a lens and a CFast card, you can start recording on there. But if you wanted to get kind of a similar setup like I have, we'll probably spend another maybe $800. And so, like I said, still under $6,000, you'll have a really good raw professional, a 4K camera solution. Anyways, if you guys are interested actually in some of the accessories that I've shown throughout this video, also if you want to see the other videos where I kind of talk about the different Steadicam solutions or gimbals, which work, which don't, my custom LUT where you can get it, or for example my cheap SSD to CFast card adapter and things like that, make sure you guys go to my website, which is at tomantosfilms.com. Also, you can check the links in the description of this video, or probably the best way is to subscribe to my newsletter. You'll get some free downloads as a sort of a thank you for subscribing, and also you're going to stay up to date when it comes to the new projects that I'm working on, or some cool new things that I found out, whether it's regards to this camera or just any cool filmmaking gear that I think is worthwhile sharing with other filmmakers. Anyways, my name is again Tom Antos. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time.